Hey guys, I hope you're having a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is when you happen to be watching this. I am tired. I just got up and I'm still trying to wake myself up, but I figure I'd just go ahead and record my thoughts on this and then keep it moving for the rest of the day. The Barbie movie, I'm not going to do some long review. I'm not going to do the usual thing where I go into production and all that other stuff. I'm just going to put my quick thoughts up there and just kind of bring up a few points. So the Barbie movie, I thought it was good. I enjoyed the movie. I don't like musicals, but I like the musical numbers. Well, I don't dislike musicals, but I'm not the biggest fan of musicals, but I did like the musical numbers. Ryan Gosling was really funny. I forget that he's such a good performer, singer, and dancer. I know he was in La La Land. I know he started out in, I think it was the Mickey Mouse Club. I get it and Kids Incorporated mixed up. And Margot Robbie is a good actress. She does good comedy or good physical comedy, whatever, and everybody else in the movie was great. What this movie made me think of is something that my friend from years ago used to say, just keep wiping at my eyes. I'm just going to make my eyes red. I keep doing that. He would say, if you wanted to know who the assholes in a room are, you walk in and you say, hey, asshole, right? And whoever turns around and gets angry, those are the assholes. So before this movie came out to wide audiences, I guess it was known, or it was it was put out that this movie would have, I guess, a feminist critique, or not a critique of feminism, but a critique from a feminist point of view. And that was the hey asshole of the world. And people turned around and got angry. Your Christian pastors, your Ben Shapiro's, your basically in the entire Daily Wire staff collectively lost their shit over that. There's this whole concept of feminism where basically people will find the most extreme elements of it and use that to critique it. Because basic feminism is essentially treat women as human beings, as individuals. That's it. Now, you may say, well, so-and-so said this thing and so-and-so said that thing, and yeah, okay. And guess what? Every group, artificial or made up, I guess all groups are made up, race, ethnicity, nationality, those are artificial constructs. But within every group, you will have extremes of it. So the things that this movie were saying, the thing that gets me about it is that the things that this movie were saying a lot of it would apply to men. And the odd thing to me about people who are often anti-feminists, and they're very loud and they're very vocal, and they talk about, think about the men going your own way movement and all those people, is that the thing that the feminists say would actually help men. Like where women say we don't want to have to live our lives by this construct where we're expected to live within these constraints, these expectations. And the thing is, that would actually be very helpful for men. And the thing is, all these men's rights guys, they kind of say they want the same thing, but they kind of give the game away when they critique feminism just in general. Because they say, well, boys are ignored, and, what about sexual assault that occurs to men? And what about discrimination against men when it comes to things like, research for certain diseases that are unique to men? And, well, here's the thing. If you are allowed to form your own identity, then guess what? These things would often, they would kind of take care of themselves. Like, if something bad happens to I'll be concrete here, and hopefully this isn't a problem. So if a young man is taken advantage of by a teacher, two things will happen often. We will either say, well, he would have I wish my hot teacher would have, been into me when I was 15 years old. No, the kid was molested, right? And then the more open-minded view is to say the kid was molested. But because men are expected to be this hypersexual being, if a kid says that, if a man older in life says this thing happened to me when I was younger and it was traumatizing, men will criticize that because that's what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be this hypersexual being that will mess around with anyone who gives you the opportunity. So we can't be sensitive. We can't be vulnerable to being hurt or taken advantage of. We have to play our role. And that's kind of what this movie, one of the critiques of this movie was saying, that you can be free to be whatever you want to be. And this critique, this statement should apply to everyone. The other thing, and I'll say quickly because I don't want this to be too long, is there's a line at the end of the movie where they make a joke about there being kins in the Supreme Court. And that's kind of a comment on the patriarchy. Here's the thing, guys. I don't think people picked up on this. The kins are women. In Barbie land, the kins are women. So if you feel bad for the kins, but you think that this movie was anti-men, you kind of missed the point. Because, okay, the 19th Amendment was passed in, I think, 1920, right? So it took 144 years for women to have the right to vote. And the first Supreme Court justice was appointed in, I think, 1980, maybe 81. It was Sandra Day O'Connor. So even after women gained universal suffrage, it took another 60 years for there to be a Supreme Court justice. So that statement at the end about there being a male Supreme Court justice in Barbie land, it's not an exaggeration. And we know that the last person to be appointed to the Supreme Court, not only did she have to deal with the fact that she was a woman, but she had to deal with being a black woman. And there was this out in the open, there were people who were saying that she should have to prove her credentials. We should see her LSAT scores. I'll tell you this, no one wanted to see the LSAT scores of the dozens of white men who had been appointed before. I don't know, maybe they wanted to see the LSAT scores of Thurgood Marshall. I don't even know if they had the LSAT back then, but I know when you had, the dude screaming, "I like beer," in front of a hearing, no one asked to see his LSAT scores. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the Barbie movie. Thank you.